Frontstretch.com coming at you guys live from the 108th running of the Indianapolis 500. Alex Gintz, Michael Massie, Christopher DeHarde, Tony Donohue, here, tired, probably a little bit emaciated, certainly dehydrated after a rain-delayed running of the greatest spectacle in racing. Christopher, I'll start with you. What the actual whatever was this day as a whole? I mean, it feels like it's been 3 days we've been here for this one day of activity.
This is the first time in my time covering the race that it's actually been truly delayed from rain. Now, in 2019, there was a small amount of rain race day morning, but it didn't really delay the proceedings that much. There was a 4-hour delay, according to IndyCar, and quite frankly, it was actually an amazing job. The people here at the track got the track dry very quickly, and of course, the sun came out right when the race was getting ready to start, which helped. It was a pretty wild day from start to finish. A lot of contenders had issues. The last lap was box office as far as I'm concerned. And now we're dealing with the consequences of earlier delays because as I'm looking at the north end of the track right now, I am seeing a lot of brake lights and not a lot of cars moving. Traffic is normally fast flowing out of this facility, and a lot of people I've seen on Twitter have had a lot of issues getting out of this place, whether it's media lots, North 40, side streets, everywhere is having issues. So it's been a crazy day, and it just for the shows, no two 500s are the same.
Box office indeed on that last lap. Tony, what does it mean not only for Josef Newgarden to go back-to-back and for Pato O'Ward to lose in that fashion, but the greatest spectacle in racing might be an understatement after that?
Yeah, I think today was an old-school type of race. You had attrition, you had engines blown, you had that crazy pass for the win for Josef Newgarden. I don't think we have realized just how crazy that was because nobody had passed in turn 3 all day up towards the front, not for the lead, especially on the high side to get that done. It was all for nothing. And Josef Newgarden brings it home with his second straight Indianapolis 500 win. I think we need to continue. We have been, but a little bit more talking about Josef as one of the all-time greats. He's in his early 30s. He's won 2 in a row. This dude can win 4. He can maybe win 5. I know we started talking about Elio winning 5 when he won his 3rd back in 2009, but I mean, Josef Newgarden's going to make a run for that 4th Indianapolis 500. He's going to be the first driver since Elio in 2003 to come back and maybe go 3 in a row. But what a race it was, and you got to feel for Pato O'Ward. This is the guy who, yes, he has a win this year, although it wasn't a checkered flag win, so to speak. He's very close. He's right there. It was a good point stay for Pato, but you're obviously not racing for points out there today. You're gutted for him. Just 3-4 years now, you think Pato might have a chance to win, and he comes up just short. So gutted for Pato, who's probably one of the most popular drivers in the paddock.
Alex, think about this. Josef Newgarden is so great, he's been able to celebrate his 30th win twice.
Stop that.
Hey, the last time those two finished 1-2, Pato got a trophy a couple weeks later.
That's fair. And I'm going to come back to Pato, but the moment that you've been waiting for, I'm sure, Kyle Larson, what do we make of his performance on the day?
Well, Larson, I think, first off, during the first 250 laps of complete chaos where half the field lost their mind and decided to rack out of the thing, he drove a clean race.
That's incredible considering the race is only 200 laps long.
Oh,
no,
come on.
250 miles.
Come on now.
The first 250 miles was chaos.
It was a demolition derby there.
Let me tell you something. They wrecked so much it felt like 250 laps.
After being here for a 4-hour delay.
There you go.
So Larson, though, he drove a really clean race and was running top 10 speed. He made 2 mistakes, though, and it's rookie mistakes, inexperience in these cars. He had a misshift. He went to 3rd gear when he shouldn't have on a restart, lost some ground. But the big one, the killer, the speeding penalty on green flag pit cycles.
Yeah.
Man, he was never in the picture again after that. Finished 18th, which still, he said afterwards he's happy he finished, but he's bummed about his result because the guy sacrificed his points lead potentially in NASCAR to stay here and do this race, and 18th isn't really what he wanted to show for it. But you know what? He might be back. He might be back next year.
Deal.
It was a 2-year deal. It was announced as a 2-year deal. So I'm pretty sure they're going to keep that. Then again, we've seen other press releases that haven't always exactly come to fruition, but I'm pretty sure given who's behind this,
Yeah.
He'll be back next year. I'm confident in saying that.
Hello, hello.
So let me come back to Pato O'Ward. I'm going to start with you, Massie, because you actually caught a moment between Pato O'Ward and Alexander Rossi on pit lane. What happened between the two after the race?
Well, so I thought those two were racing aggressively at the end, and Pato put a really aggressive pass on Rossi. I thought maybe there might be a little tension, but no, Rossi walked up. They had a big, emotional hug. Both of them just heartbroken that they didn't win the thing. And, yeah, it was just a good moment. You could tell that those two guys really like each other. They're really good friends. It's just crazy to see the dynamic over there at McLaren versus, like, the dynamic at a Penske or something like that now. So, yeah, it was a touching moment for sure.
So we were able to talk to Théo Pourchaire, who's going to be taking over that number 6 car for the rest of the season on the front stretch before the race. And obviously Callum Ilott was in the car today, and mechanical gremlins got in the way of him having a solid run. Does Arrow McLaren really need the number 6 car at this point with a performance like O'Ward and Rossi put in today?
Yeah, look, Arrow McLaren's been around at the end of these Indianapolis 500s. They just haven't been able to get over the hump. Rossi is so good here. Pato, again, was right there. I think we got to the end of the race with 10 laps to go, and we knew there's 3-4 drivers that had a chance. Alexander Rossi's not signed to drive Arrow McLaren this time next year, so we don't know what that's going to look like. Théo Pourchaire is obviously going to get that 6 car the rest of the year. They still have talked about having some interest in maybe bringing David Malukas back. That they haven't kind of poo-pooed that yet. So we could see some shuffling when he come back here next year for the 109th Indianapolis 500 inside of that Arrow McLaren stable.
What a time to be alive. Switching pace a little bit to first the rookies and then the one-off entries. Let's focus on the rookies to start, Christopher. Christian Rasmussen took Rookie of the Year honors, came home in 12th place.
We don't know that yet. The Rookie of the Year honors did not necessarily go to the driver that finishes highest.
No way it won't be Larson.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair. You guys are right.
But let me seal the show here real quick. Christian Rasmussen, the kid that I've worked with,
Yes.
was on fire on Monday. He had a great car. He knew he did. He ran himself up into the top 9. There, I think he was running 8th, as high as maybe even 7th. Look, Kevin Simpson also had a really good day too, really solid performance. But in a race where veterans made mistakes, Colton Herta, the rookies had a pretty good day outside of Tom Blomqvist, in that turn 1 biff. I thought, Linus had a biff as well. Shout out to Kevin Simpson and Christian Rasmussen. Rasmussen was making some moves. There's 2 guys, besides Joseph's last lap pass, the only 2 drivers I saw making moves on the high side in turn 3 were Takuma Sato and Christian Rasmussen. He's going to break through. Rasmussen reminds me a lot of a Thomas Scheckter, a guy who's very aggressive. Remember Russell Westbrook when he was in his prime? He was 100% all the time, and you couldn't back him down. That's Christian Rasmussen. I think we knew he was there today.
So not to take anything away from Larson, but you're correct. Let's assume that on principle Larson is excluded from the Rookie of the Year contention just because of his previous experience in NASCAR. Who performed the most impressively out of the rookies in your mind today?
I would still say Rasmussen. I believe Rasmussen did more with his equipment than Larson did with his equipment, which, let's face it, Ed Carpenter Racing, they haven't always performed the best at Indianapolis the last couple of years. I know they put in a lot of effort towards their preparation for this event, but unfortunately sometimes things just don't necessarily work out in the middle of a race. For Rasmussen, he didn't make any mistakes that I know of. I don't think he made any mistakes the whole month even. I can't recall anything he did in practice. I don't think he did anything in qualifying.
A couple close calls, but, you can talk to 33 drivers, including Nolan Siegel, 34 drivers this month that had a lot of some close calls. I want to give a shout-out to somebody else, too, Christian Lundgaard. It seems like at the end of this race, this year and last year and even 2 years ago, there's always that driver that you're like, oh, he finished top 12, top 13, had a really solid day. I thought Lundgaard had a really solid, quiet day. And also shout-out to Agustin Canapino. This is a guy that doesn't have the most oval experience, isn't in one of the best cars, and he was up there all day dicing it up. Yeah, he kind of got shuffled back and was a lap down there for a minute, but I was impressed by what I saw out of him.
Christian Lundgaard turned the race's fastest lap, second fastest lap on the fastest lap chart. Christian Rasmussen.
Christian Lundgaard also led home the Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing Team ahead of Takuma Sato in 14th and Graham Rahal in 15th. Sato being one of the...
We got some celebrating down
We found
there.
Joseph.
Yeah.
I think he's on the 4th floor up there.
Sato being one of the one-off entries. Also Ed Carpenter, Connor Daly, Ryan Hunter-Ray. Who had the best performance relatively out of those one-off entries today?
Well, I'm getting ready to finish up a sidebar, but on this driver. But Connor Daly, he was the race's biggest mover from 29th to 10th. He made a post about the fact that he can't keep the trophy for being the biggest mover, but he got to get a nice hat. And he's finished 6th in this race before, but this might have been his best drive at the 500. He had an off-sequence pit strategy, put it on the 4th lap of the race underneath the first caution.
Times in this race.
Yeah, and he kept himself on the lead lap and ultimately was fighting up there up front with Scott and Joseph and the rest of those guys. But he mentioned in the interview that he did with me that he didn't have quite the top end that he needed in 6th gear, but he did a very good job. And not only that, this is a team that does the Indy 500 and no other IndyCar races of the year. Yep. He's going to hopefully do some more races with the team. He's basically been begging Dennis to bring the car out to Nashville. They might run the same aero package there. Dennis, I think, would like to make another run at Nashville, maybe another race or two, but the fact of the matter is, it takes money to run these cars. You don't run this stuff for free, so. And
that's 4 straight years that Ryan Reinbold cars finished top 10. So they focus in on this race. They have great pit stops. Ryan Hunter-Reay had a good day going. Kind of got pinched there by Scott Dixon into the grass, and that ruined his day. But
that was a hell of a save.
Yeah, it was. It could have been way worse. I mean, I was sitting in turn 3, and he was down in the grass, kind of pointed at the grandstand, and you never know. You come out, you try to keep that thing down. So it wasn't the day that Ryan Hunter-Reay wanted, but that was a hell of a save down there to not make it any worse than what it was.
So I caught up with Connor Daly in the garage after the race, and he mentioned to me the same thing about wanting to go to Nashville. But the first comment he made, you could see that he was just physically absolutely exhausted. And
he didn't look exhausted. I thought the same thing.
He said, I have not been in the car for almost 9 months.
Yeah.
So then to come back, no place like home and perform like that from where he started, yeah, hell of a run, absolutely. Massie, I know you're still here. Don't worry. Are you going to come back next year? Are you going to come back and try to win it again, so to say?
Yeah, especially, if Larson's doing the double for real, I want to see someone actually do the double. This does not count. Even if the Cup race, which is under rain delay right now, even if it goes back green and he finishes the race in the 5, that is not doing the double. You got to do all 1,100 miles. So he's going to try it again next year. I'll be here. Even if he doesn't try it, I had so much fun. This is awesome. We were walking the grid before the race started, and it was just so cool. The atmosphere, just the crowd buzzing. This is an awesome place. It lives
up. Ken Griffey Jr.
I'm at Ken Griffey Jr. I got yelled. Worth getting yelled at.
I got one last night.
Y'all think about this. This is a man who his first IndyCar race ever was Long Beach. His second IndyCar race is the Indy 500. Like, those are the 2 biggest IndyCar races on the calendar.
It's only downhill from here, right?
It's thinking Mid-Ohio. You're like,
No. His next one has to be Road America. You got to go to Road America. That's probably the best road course on the IndyCar calendar. We've got to get you to Road America.
Okay. I would love to see Road America someday.
I also thought Kirkwood had a really good day.
Yes.
Obviously had that penalty. And it was kind of like, as you know, it was flashes of Dan Weld and Alexander Rossi. Like, okay, something went bad in the pit, something went wrong. You got to do a different type of strategy, save fuel. Kirkwood had a really good day. It was the best day for Andretti because obviously Colton with the wreck, Marco with the wreck, and then Marcus Ericsson getting caught up on that first lap incident. And then Alex Palou, again, this is 24 consecutive top 10s for Palou, 23 if you don't count thermal in which he won. Days like today is what wins Alex Palou championships.
Very true, very true. All right, and for the rest of that season where Alex Palou is going to be trying to win another championship, Connor Daly is going to be trying to get his Indianapolis-style aero package at Nashville. Christian Rasmussen is going to be looking for top 10s and top 5s even, maybe. We will be there on site providing all the coverage we can. Frontstretch.com. You can find us online at frontstretch.com, fittingly enough. On Facebook at Frontstretch, on Twitter at Frontstretch, with our open wheel content at FS Open Wheel. Same arrangement on YouTube, Frontstretch and Frontstretch Open Wheel. And if you want to find any of us specifically on the app, which shall not be named,
You've already named it.
Get out.
Okay.
You can find Massie at
M_Massie22.
Christopher
At DeHarde, CDEHARDE.
Tony
at Tony D. Indy.
And I am at Alex Gintz 1 because Alex M. Gintz was taken by me and then I got locked out of it. So stay tuned when we will have these two coming at you with a post-race conversation from the streets of Detroit.
Steven Stump of Frontstretch.com here. Come back for more great racing videos, and if you like us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.